Hey guys, Dante here and welcome back to my channel, The Burgos Art. Today we're going to sit back and take it a little easy. I'm just going to talk to you about something that I think a lot of you out there who are aspiring artists of any field can kind of understand. And it's looking back at your old work, seeing what got you to that point and seeing where you go forward from there. Now in my case, I'm going to be talking about my card games. See, I make paintings, I do ink drawings, I do marker drawings, I do sculptures, and I do resin casting, but I also like to design card games, or just tabletop games in general. And it all started years back with this, Thunderhead. Or rather, this was where it ended up. Where it really started was somewhere completely different. It started with Minecraft. Let's go to a table over here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So, what you have here in front of you are a number of cards I designed based off of the Minecraft video game. So essentially, many years ago, I started doing these sketches in this sketchbook right here. And it started as a gag. How can I turn the events that happen to people in this video game into a card game? And first I started with the events that happened all the time to everyone. So the very first one was setting your house on fire. The next one after that was running off a cliff. All these things that no matter how you play the game, you knew would happen to you sooner or later. And as I did more and more sketches, I realized I had enough where I could probably make a card game. Which takes us back to these cards. So all these cards were essentially done by hand. I didn't know any printing company. I didn't know anyone who made card games for the general public to just like tap into. So all of these were illustrated and put together in Adobe Photoshop. I had some stock background of wood planks, of old paper, etc., and I dropped my drawings on top of them. And I tried to come up with a mechanic for this game. I had never done this before, never made card games before, so I had to make a mechanic for a brand new card game based off a video game. And it was just a weird pet project, a way to scratch the itch I had. So for example, I have these wild cards, which are exactly that, things that happen to you randomly. Such as this one where the creeper shows up at your front door, which causes you to lose points. I have these crafting cards, which are things you need to build your home and therefore win the game. Such as a door, some wooden walls, and a pane of glass. I also have the food, which is, of course, raw pork, cooked pork chop, etc. And you have what I call the fiends, or the villains, the spiders, the silverfish, and the zombies. And when I said I made these by hand, I really meant it. I printed all of these on cardstock. And then on the opposite side, as you can see here, I printed, and in some cases, like this question mark, designed what would be in the back. Cut those out and glued those on individually. And I gotta tell you right now, there were a lot of cards. And I even tried to make it more than just a card game. So right here you have a sun and moon dial, essentially a time dial, because in Minecraft the game, based on if you're out at the daytime or nighttime, certain things act differently, and there were certain cards that acted differently. And I learned to make this little simple thing based on a book my mom got me, which was all about advanced techniques in how to make pop-up books. This is of course not advanced, but you get the idea. And last but not least, I have this dice, and the dice was a cheap plastic die I got from one of those little 25-cent little quarter machines you find in some grocery stores. It's hollow, it's lightweight, and I carefully glued each of the symbols from the cards onto the dice. So the idea was you would roll the dice, it'll tell you what card to pick up, and the card would then lead you through the game. At a certain point, an associate of mine. I cannot remember if it was my friend the Orc, as he likes to go by, or our mutual friend Mecha Small Time, who I believe has a Twitch channel right now. But one of them just said, dude, at this point, just make your own game, because I was already designing this really crazy game. So with that being said, let's go back to what I mentioned at the earlier point of this video, which is, of course, Thunderhead. So I took all the ideas I had from my Minecraft game, and I tweaked them, and I tried to turn it into this, which is Thunderhead, History's First Genius, and it's about a really stupid caveman, but for his time, a really genius caveman. And this is him right here in the back of it. That's Thunderhead in all his glory, or Thunder for short. And essentially, it was the mechanic, if you will, that I used to make the game for Minecraft, but put into a brand new setting, which is that of a caveman trying to survive in the wild. All the way down to reworking the cards. So there's one card that is literally entitled You Create Fire, Fire Bad. And it's the same concept as creating fire in Minecraft, where if you make fire, you basically burn down your supplies. And it's just an image of Thunderhead with his arm on fire. This box, well, all the artwork is mine, with the exception of textures. Once again, free stock of stone and paper I found online from various sources, but all the artwork that went into this was mine. By the time I reached this point, by the time I took this idea that was based off of fandom and turned it into my own, I had found a company known as The Game Crafter that, would you know it, makes custom games. Oh, I just dropped the dice. One moment. They make custom games, even perfect. The custom dice. So this dice is a blank die with a number of stickers on it, and each sticker corresponds to a particular card. And that's how I started. It was a fandom. So it's kind of like drawing a Sonic OC character. Like you design a character that looks like it belongs to Sonic the Hedgehog, but then you develop it so much, it's no longer attached to what it was originally attached to. And suddenly you have this animal character. Is it a furry? Is it a werewolf? And it just develops into something else. And that's what Thunderhead was. Thunderhead was a Minecraft game that developed into its own game. The problem is, though, this is the first time I ever did a game. So I had the art. I had the style. I had the general idea, but I knew nothing about game mechanics. What's fun, essentially? Like, what makes a fun game? And I just took everything, I threw it at the wall. And in the end, this game ended up being, this prototype ended up being half strategy, half randomness, half chance. Strategy and chance. And that doesn't gel well with people. Also, at the time, I was unaware of how Game Crafter pricing worked. So I ended up just like printing out tons of cards, and in the end, the production rate for this game alone was way too high. And it was a learning experience. I also learned a lot about copyright. You can copyright images, and it's actually very cheap. So Thunderhead himself could be copywritten as a mascot, super cheap. I looked into to trademark the name Thunderhead, and actually lost a lot of money with that because of stupid mistakes along the way. But I learned. So I put this on the back burner for a while because the game needed a complete overhaul. And over time, I developed 2 other games. And these games were Frightful Forest and Of Tolls and Trolls, as I've mentioned in previous videos. Now these babies right here, this is what it leads up to. All the failures, all the mistakes, getting out of the fandom, realizing that fanfics are good, fan characters are fine. They're all fine. Fanfics, fan characters, OCs, based off of something else, gem sonars for Steven Universe fans or whatever you want to call them. Those are actually perfectly fine, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But at some point, when you start adding so much into it and developing it and changing it, just make it your own. And that's what I did for Thunderhead, which then led me to create these. Same website, gamecrafter.com. And I looked into what is more interesting, what can I do, how can I use different products to my liking. So this, for example, has big cards, these jumbo cards, which are great for character bios, because in this game you play as several characters stuck or lost in the woods. And then I used another card stock they had to create mats. So rather than make a board game with a giant board you have to fold out and cost you way too much money, you work around it, you get creative. These mats make the board game. And you learn. So I made this game. I made the rules. It's a survival game. So essentially you're surviving against the game itself and the other players. And it's a strategy. So strategy survival game. And then I played it with a few really cool people at a Barnes & Noble's one day at a game event. I asked them, hey, do you want to try out my game? You guys don't have to. I know you're here to try other games, but I wouldn't mind trying it out. And they were amazing. It was, I believe, like 3 gentlemen, 2 women. They took turns because there was only a certain amount of players. And they were like, wait, you made this game? You made this? We'll try it. And their advice was invaluable. You know, sometimes you have to step away from even your own product to really get a view of what's happening. And their test play helped me adjust the rule set. Later on, I would play with my good friend the Orc, as well as Joseph Tesserman of T.R.I.X on YouTube and on Instagram, T.R.I.X, check him out. And even now, this prototype has a little note, a little piece of paper of ideas of what to change. Not major ideas, but suggestions. You need to get suggestions from your friends and people you don't know about how to make what you have better, especially if you plan to bring it into the market. If it's your own drawing and your own painting, you might not need their opinion. But don't be blind to it. Don't ignore it. So that was this. And every step gets more and more advanced until finally you have my most recent one, Of Trolls and Trolls. Of Trolls and Trolls is more focused than Thunderhead. Completely original compared to the Minecraft game. And less of a learning, it has less of a learning curve than Frightful Forest. It is a family-friendly game. And I'm not just saying it to plug it, because yes, you can buy it. The Burgos art on Game Crafter is a shop. You can buy it, go get it. But essentially, you learn as you go along. And this one's a family-friendly game, and you once again develop based on your knowledge of what works better, what doesn't work, and test play. You test play, you test play. Everything you do, especially a product that you hope to introduce to the world, you need to essentially practice. Test plays, remakes, dumping a project, and then going back to it much later when you have a clear head. That's practice, and that's what art is. And I just wanted to show you these because I wanted to show you the process. I went through all of these. And in fact, even though this is on the market right now, I still feel there's ways to improve it. Expansion packs, whatever. And Thunderhead, if you notice, is in this giant box compared to this little box. Frightful Forest. I'm actually returning to Thunderhead. And I've just been drawing and removing cards and rethinking the gameplay. And once again, looking back after you've taken a good amount of time to look, to stay away from it. Stay away. You look back, and now I'm going to try and focus this as much as I focused on this. Really bring together what is this game. And I think this game will favor very well from a more board game aesthetic. Because, like I said, Thunderhead was a game based on chance and strategy. And I realized there's not many card games that rely on both of those. Card games are in your hand, and people prefer strategy than chance. At least on a level of percentage. Uno has strategy, but the chance is what card you pick up. But it's still about strategy. What card do you play? When do you jump in? Etc. So I think this would do well with a board game aesthetic because board games rely on chance. You roll the dice, you don't know where you land. And in fact, this might even lean towards a more Monopoly style. A board game with cards, and you gotta find out how to use your cards while dealing with this board game, with this board that really controls the outcome. And that's another thing. Don't be afraid to look at what's come before. I'm always afraid to copy other people's stuff, especially when it comes to game mechanics. You know, you don't want to just make a reskin of a pre-existing card game. And there's a few out there. There's the famous game Cards Against Humanity, and there's already a whole bunch of games out there which are legitimately fun but have the exact same mechanic. But they're still fun. So don't be afraid to be like, okay, I have this card game, and I'm not happy with it because it's too much like this other card game. And it's okay. It's okay to borrow stuff. It's okay to take stuff as long as you still make it yours. So there's going to be stuff from Thunderhead which might resemble Monopoly in terms of how the game plays out. But I'm going to make sure to add enough stuff to it, enough gameplay and ideas where it's still original. That's what makes inspiration. Inspiration is looking at what came before you and acknowledging it's good and trying to put your own spin and trying to add stuff to it. Plagiarism is just doing what they did and then changing the way it looks. That's bad. And a little note to those of you who are trying to design something physical, such as card games. I want to show you what I have over here real quick. So right here is a grid paper, a big booklet of grid paper that is. I bought this grid paper for several reasons, but in the end I found out, wow, this is great for mapping out my card game. So once again, I looked online to my suppliers, and with the Game Crafter, that's my supplier right there. I looked up what cards would be best, so I chose this jumbo card, and I took notes of what pieces fit on the card, how many pieces can fit on this card. When you have it in front of you on a physical template, it really helps you get a grasp of it. And if you look at these are ideas for the board game itself. But rather than be on a board, I'm going to put them on the jumbo cards, which allows the players to shuffle the cards around and essentially change the board game, the board itself, for every playthrough. And also doing this saves you money, because 6 of these jumbo cards is a lot cheaper than even their smallest board game, that is. And yeah, so don't be afraid to sit down and cut up pieces of paper and glue little things to the back of the paper, like I did with my Minecraft game. You want to get a grasp of it. With Thunderhead, I didn't have the grasp I needed, even after all the physical templates I made. And that's okay. But you should still have those templates. You should still try. And try. I've gone through maybe 2 or 3 prototypes of this, and I found spelling errors. I found areas where the files were incorrectly uploaded, so I actually messed up the dice. Heck, I realized I miscounted the tokens I needed. Could they print out these really cool orange tokens? And I miscounted how many I needed. So I literally had to cut out from cardstock maybe 12 extra tokens. And that's okay. You're gonna screw up. You're gonna screw up a lot. But when it comes to any bit of artwork, as I said practice, practice, practice. And screwing up is part of the practice. Learning the small techniques. For those of you who are thinking of making a card game, especially from, once again, GameCrafter.com, the Burgos Art, GameCrafter, check it out. They have booklets that you can use to put all your instructions on. Booklets look very professional. But then I realized, oh, I could fit all this booklet onto a single document page. And they have documents. So by doing that, I saved money on production. Because in the end, for me, if I tell myself I would not spend that much on the card game, like if I told myself, man, this card game is $75, and if I wouldn't spend that much money on it, I don't feel anyone else would. So try to get your mind into the headspace of the people you are pitching this to, and find your way around. Find those little techniques that get you there. You know, use stock if you need to. Just make sure it's free stock and you don't take it from anyone. Find the cards that work. Make instructions easy. Reread the instructions. Have the instructions, play it one way. Tweak the instructions, play it that way. See which one works better. Listen to people's opinion, and in the end, have fun. Because if you don't like it, then what's the point of it? And I think that's the main thing. I don't just like making these games. I love making these games. And I love seeing people play it and having fun. Because I had a bunch of older individuals play Of Tolls and Trolls, and the main consensus was, wow, I should buy one of these because my little brother would love it, or when I babysit, they'll love it. You know, in so many words they said that. Essentially, they were like, this is a good game for kids, which is what I was aiming for. And if the adults have fun playing it and feel that their children will have fun playing it, that's amazing. And who knows, maybe you have fun playing these too. So that's pretty much my little spiel. I hope this helped you, and I really hope that, heck, maybe one day when these hit big, if they hit big, I'll get to hear your opinions about them. And maybe one day I'll hear someone out there, one of you guys say, oh yeah, I found out about this one website and the best way to approach making a game from this weirdo on YouTube. Thank goodness for that weirdo. I would love to be that weirdo. I want to be your weirdo, people. But yeah. Anyway, guys. Once again, I'm Dante. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the future. Later.
If you liked this video, be sure to check out my other works on my YouTube channel, and also be sure to follow me on these social media websites. Links in the description down below.